Welcome, this is episode 4 and it's 4 useful dev tool tips for building better Squarespace websites. And the key thing here is don't be afraid of dev tools, they can really help you. So the best way to get into dev tools is to right click on an element on your page and go down to inspect. I am using Firefox, but Chrome is very similar and it works in a very similar way. So it's not really there's not big differences between browsers and how dev tools really work. Right click, go inspect, and then you go into here. I'm going to quickly go through the tabs here. These are the main tabs, how you kind of navigate around. And I don't use most of them, admittedly, and you probably won't be unless you are into heavy JavaScript applications and maybe some 3D stuff with 3JS or something like that, but you're not really going to be using most of these when you're developing straightforward Squarespace websites. So inspector is with a DOM, and then we've got the styles here on the right hand side. Console is quite handy if you will need that, even if you're doing lightweight JavaScript work, just even manipulating the DOM. You can see JavaScript errors in here and they would be in red, and that can be quite handy to pick up on them, certainly if you are writing any JavaScript. So you can have consoles one to keep a note. Debugger is not going to be used too much by you guys. Network will be used now and again when you're looking into the performance, and I'll get onto that. Style editor, again, not going to be using too much of that at all. I have done very basic stuff in here and I've been building websites for many years. I don't use the style editor. Performance can be useful, again, if you're heavy into JavaScript. Memory, same again. If you're big applications, you're probably not going to use this in a Squarespace general site build. Storage can be useful for cookies and bits and pieces like that, but once again, you're not going to be using that too much. Accessibility can be handy. It shows you tabbing order, but you're probably, again, not going to be using too much of this. Application, once again, you're not really going to be using this unless you are heavy into JavaScript with Squarespace builds, which 99% of builds are not going to be anyway. So as you can notice the pattern there, most of these you're just not going to use at all. So what I want to show you here is the network tab. And what we are trying to do is to see all the assets that we have loaded from this HTML or your Squarespace web page. So everything is listed here: your fonts, your CSS, your JavaScript, your images, your video if you've got, which I'll come on to, and all of them are here. So these all the dependencies, every single one that is loaded from your Squarespace page. So what we want to look for here though is we want to see, generally on the web, if you have large files, is going to slow down your site. So this is kind of a performance thing here I'm covering. And we want to see because it's very easy, for instance, for your client to go in and he or she could upload, let's say, a 3, 4, 5 megabit image, and then they wonder why their site is really slow. So in here you can see all the files, and if we hit on the transfer tab as is selected there, we can see that the video there, the WebM, the coffee stream, it's the largest file. Then we've got JavaScript. You can't do anything about that Squarespace file there. But then we can drill down into all the files, and if say there was a 3, 4 megabit image in there that the client has put on their site, you will see that, and that will be likely you found what is really slowing down their site. So that's quite a common problem. And using the network tab and inverting this with the transferred, selecting that, then filtering it by transferred, you can see that all the large files on your site. So that's very useful to know and to use. Every time I design anything on Squarespace, one of the first things I do is go into the network tab and just make sure there aren't any big assets in there. So very useful to know. That's just a network tab. And it's interesting, you can also filter down by CSS, so you can see images here. This is a really useful thing to know with DevTools. So the next thing I want to show is if we go into the console tab here at the top, and then we can see I've got a JavaScript there. I purposely created that bit of JavaScript to create an error. As you can see, there it is. So you just scroll down in the console and make sure there's no JavaScript errors like you see there. Very handy. Even if you're using lightweight JavaScript, it's very easy to go wrong. and you can just see your errors in there. Very useful. So we go into DevTools again, select this H1, right click again and inspect. And then if we go into our inspector, the default tab, we have got the H1 selected. You can see there it's in blue. And then on the right hand side, we have the properties of that H1. If we scroll down, we've got a margin bottom here of 50 pixels. So what we can do in here is click into that 50 and use our arrow keys up and down, and it will adjust by 1 pixel at a time. And that way it's just so much quicker than going into Squarespace and saving it every pixel, every 5 pixels, then refreshing the page to see what you really want in that design. So this is just so much quicker than that way, and it's going to save you a lot of time. So if we go into DevTools, and this is a really useful feature within here. Keyboard shortcut here on a Mac on Firefox is Option or Alt, Command and M. And we go into a mobile view. I'll also put the shortcuts for Windows and Chrome in the mediasurgery.co.uk notes. Have a look at that if you are stuck here. If we get rid of DevTools in this mobile view, and whilst the Squarespace mobile view is, it's quite good, but this gives you many different options here, and you can actually set for Android, Galaxy phones, iPhones, and you even get an iPad option here. So this just gives a lot more strings to your bow when you are testing websites on mobile. One thing I would say is you still should try and test on a few real world devices. They are the most accurate. In 99% of cases, these emulators are fine, but sometimes things can kind of fall through the cracks, and only testing on real devices can you see some issues. But that said, this is really handy, and it's just you just get more sizes here for you to test your mobile website rather than just the one size that you get in default Squarespace editor. So check the Media Surgery notes for the shortcuts, and this is a really useful tool when you are building sites in Squarespace. Okay, so that's it for this episode, guys. If you've any questions, just leave a message on YouTube. I'll pick up that every few days, and I will respond on there if any questions come up. Also check the mediasurgery.co.uk website. I've put the full notes on there, and I'll also add in the full keyboard shortcuts for Mac and PC, both on Firefox and on Chrome. Thanks for watching, and I'll be back soon with another video. Thanks.